Why do we love differently? Why does one person feel safe in closeness while another feels trapped by it? Why do some chase love like oxygen, while others push it away the moment it gets too real? At first, these patterns seem random, maybe just personality, maybe bad luck. But they're not random at all. They're learned. Long before your first kiss, before your first heartbreak, you were already learning the language of love from the way you were held comforted or left waiting as a child. That's what attachment theory is about. It's the invisible script that shapes how we bond, trust, and connect. And once you see it, you'll start to understand every relationship you've ever had, and maybe even the one you have with yourself. Let's begin. Why do we love the way we do? Why do some people feel calm and confident in love, while others feel anxious, clingy, or terrified of getting too close? Why can one person trust easily while another always expects to be left behind? It might seem like these are questions about relationships, but they're actually questions about attachment, the invisible pattern that shapes how we bond with others, how we handle love, and how we respond to fear. The truth is, we don't start from zero when it comes to love. We begin with a blueprint, a model written in our earliest years, and that model quietly echoes through every friendship, every argument, every heartbreak. Today, we're going to explore attachment theory, the science of why some of us feel secure in love and others don't. A story that begins not with romance, but with childhood. In the 1950s, a British psychologist named John Bowlby began studying children who were separated from their parents during World War II. He noticed something heartbreaking when children lost contact with their caregivers. They didn't just feel sad, they changed. Some became deeply anxious, desperate for attention. Others withdrew, shutting down emotionally. A few remained stable, trusting that their caregiver would return. Bowlby realized this wasn't about personality, it was about connection. He proposed that humans, like other animals, have a built-in system that keeps us close to the people who protect us. It's called the attachment system, and it's wired for survival. Later, another researcher, Mary Ainsworth, expanded Bowlby's ideas. She conducted a simple but revealing test known as the strange situation experiment. Infants were brought into a playroom with their mothers, then left alone for a short time and reunited. How they reacted revealed everything. Some children cried when their mothers left, but quickly calmed when she returned. Others became frantic, clinging and crying, but never truly comforted. And some seemed indifferent. They avoided their mothers altogether, acting as if they didn't care. From these observations, Ainsworth identified three main attachment styles: secure, anxious, and avoidant. Later psychologists added a fourth, disorganized or fearful avoidant. And here's the part that's both beautiful and terrifying. These patterns don't disappear when we grow up. They become the emotional software we run in every relationship that follows. So let's break them down one by one. The first is the secure attachment, the one most of us wish we had. A securely attached child grows up knowing that love is reliable. When they cry, someone comes. When they explore, someone stays close enough to keep them safe. They learn that the world is safe, that people can be trusted, and that their feelings matter. When they grow up, these children become adults who are comfortable with closeness, but not dependent on it. They can give and receive love, freely communicate openly, and handle conflict without fear of abandonment. They don't chase love, and they don't run from it. They understand that love can be stable, even when imperfect. Securely attached adults believe a simple but powerful truth: I'm worthy of love, and others are capable of giving it. It doesn't mean they never feel hurt or insecure. It means they know how to return to safety both with others and within themselves. Roughly half of the population fits this style. For them, relationships feel like a safe home, not a battlefield. The second style is the anxious attachment. If secure love feels like steady ground, anxious love feels like quicksand. As children, those with anxious attachment often had caregivers who were inconsistent, sometimes loving and attentive, sometimes distracted or distant. They never knew what to expect. One day, warmth, the next, silence. So they learned a painful rule: If I want love, I have to fight for it. They grew up believing that love is fragile, that affection can vanish at any moment. So as adults, they crave closeness, but fear rejection. They read deeply into every word, every pause, every text left unseen. They try to prove their worth, over-communicating, over-analyzing, over-giving, because deep down, they believe love must be earned. It's not that they want too much. They just learned that love can disappear, and that makes every silence sound like goodbye. Anxious individuals often find themselves in a painful loop, chasing reassurance, only to feel ashamed for needing it. They say things like, "I know I'm overthinking," but their nervous system doesn't care, it's simply trying to stay safe. If you've ever felt calm only when someone replies or panicked when someone pulls away, you might know this pattern too well. The third style is the avoidant attachment. Where anxious people fear being abandoned, avoidants fear being trapped. As children, they often had caregivers who discouraged emotional expression, parents who said, "Stop crying," or who were present physically but distant emotionally. They learned early that showing need leads to disappointment. So they shut those needs down. They became independent, not because they didn't need love, but because needing it hurt too much. As adults, avoidant individuals often value self-sufficiency above all else. They can seem confident, even detached in relationships. They crave connection, but when it arrives, it feels suffocating. They pull away when things get too intimate, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Deep down, they want love just as much as anyone else. But their nervous system associates closeness with loss of control. So they keep a safe distance close enough to touch far enough to stay free. It's a quiet kind of loneliness, loving from the doorway, but never stepping inside. And then there's a fourth style, the disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment. This one is rare, but deeply painful. It often develops when the caregiver is both a source of comfort and fear, for example, in cases of neglect or trauma. The child grows up torn between two instincts to reach for love and to protect themselves from it. As adults, they often want intimacy, but don't trust it. They can seem unpredictable warm one moment, distant the next. They reach for closeness, then retreat the moment they get it. Because to them, love feels both necessary and dangerous. They long for connection, but every part of their body whispers, "Be careful." Love can hurt. It's not drama, it's survival. Now, here's the part that matters most. These attachment styles aren't boxes we're trapped in. They're patterns, and patterns can change. Our brains are plastic. Every time we form a safe, trusting connection, we can rewire. Every time we practice healthy communication, we shift the script. You can move from anxious to secure from avoidant, to open from fearful to safe. But first, you have to understand your pattern to see how it plays out in your relationships. Anxious types might notice how quickly they seek reassurance. Avoidants might notice how often they pull away. And both can start asking a different question, not, "What's wrong with me?" but "What do I need to feel safe right now?" Because attachment isn't about weakness, it's about safety. It's your body's way of protecting your heart. And this explains one of the most common relationship dynamics of all, why anxious and avoidant people often find each other. At first, they feel magnetic opposites that complete each other. The anxious one feels drawn to the avoidant's calm confidence. The avoidant feels flattered by the anxious person's warmth and admiration. But soon, the dance begins. The closer the anxious person gets, the more the avoidant pulls away. The more they pull away, the more anxious the other becomes. It's a cycle of fear and distance, each person's coping mechanism triggering the others. One chases, one runs. Both feel misunderstood. Yet underneath both are trying to do the same thing, stay safe. Understanding this doesn't fix everything, but it gives compassion where blame used to live. So, what does healing look like? First, awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Start by observing your patterns with curiosity, not judgment. Second, co-regulation. Find people who model secure attachment friends. Partners, therapists. People who are calm, consistent, and kind. Their stability can teach your nervous system what safety feels like. Third, self-regulation. Learn to comfort yourself when your attachment system is activated. Deep breathing, journaling, honest communication instead of mind reading. When you feel the panic or the urge to withdraw, pause. Remind yourself that the threat is emotional, not physical. Over time, you'll begin to trust both others and yourself. That's the essence of secure attachment, knowing that love can be steady even when it's challenged. The beauty of attachment theory is that it doesn't just explain romance. It explains almost everything: how we make friends, how we parent, how we work, how we respond to loss and closeness. It reminds us that every human is shaped by their first relationships, but not defined by them. Your attachment style isn't a life sentence. It's just a story that began before you could write. And now that you're the author, you can choose how it ends. So maybe the question isn't what's my attachment style, but what am I learning about love? Because love isn't just something that happens between people. It's something that happens within us. If you learned that love is uncertain, you can learn that it's safe. If you learned that closeness is scary, you can learn that it's healing. If you built walls, you can learn to build doors. Attachment theory doesn't ask us to be perfect. It asks us to be aware, to notice our patterns, to understand our fears, and to choose connection anyway. Because the way we love isn't fixed. It's written in pencil. And with enough understanding, we can rewrite it one relationship at a time. Your attachment style isn't a flaw. It's a survival story, the way your heart learned to protect itself. If you learned to chase love, it's because you once had to fight for it. If you learned to avoid it, it's because closeness once felt unsafe. But the story doesn't end there. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, every time you communicate instead of withdraw, every time you let someone in, even just a little, you're rewriting that story. Because attachment isn't permanent, it's written in pencil. And with enough trust, enough patience, and enough understanding, you can learn to love differently and to be loved differently too. If this helped you understand yourself just a bit better, stay curious. Because the more we understand our hearts, the easier it becomes to open them.